Hi, it's Rachel Maldonado,
And I'm Foster Coulson.
and we are talking about the masculinity crisis. Foster, do you think there's a crisis?
I mean, my personal opinion is there's a major crisis because I don't think that men know how to be men anymore. In fact, my opinion is that they're trying to turn men into women and feminize them. And I think that that is going to create a tremendous problem in society.
Hmm. What are some examples that they're feminizing the men?
I mean, there's a whole gender debate right now. So I mean, that's a big one. But I think, we live in this world where if you're masculine, suddenly it's toxic. Just like if you're feminine, if you come out as being a strong woman, it's toxic femininity. And I feel like they're putting so many different labels on things right now that it's deterring men from being able to have that take charge masculine energy. And I think for me, I see it and I realize it, and it's something that I'm talking more about with my companies now. And one of them, look at Unjected, for example. We have a 5-to-1 women to male ratio because men don't want to pay to be on the site. And I look at that, and that's a huge concern because men are now wanting something for nothing.
Hmm?
Like that's just I just don't believe that's the way it should go. I believe men should pay for dinner. It's chivalry. It's something men take care of women. And to be taken care of doesn't mean that you're a weak woman by any means. It just that's the polarity that I think draws when men and women and women to men and vice versa together.
Hmm. Do you notice with your friend group or those men, that they think in these terms, that they like the feminine? Or what do you think about your friends?
I mean, my wife likes it. I mean, I think that there's definitely something to the role of that masculine feminine relationship, and that it's really important to honor that and embrace that. And I think that there are a lot of women trying to take the role of a masculine male in society right now. And I think that there can be strong women. My wife is a strong woman, and she's amazing. It doesn't mean I'm any less masculine.
Yes. And what about the men that you know? Do you think that they are surprised by how fast it's changing in the world, or they have barely noticed it's so gradual?
I think everybody right now is just on their heels, and it's like everybody's concerned or scared to do or say anything because they're worried about being labeled or branded toxic. That seems like that's like the trigger word right now. And I think that is going to really affect a lot of men being men. And again, it's vice versa. I think there's a lot of women that are being called toxic feminists when they're just a strong, independent woman. And there's nothing wrong with that. We don't need to label that. Strong men and strong women should be together. I think that makes a great relationship. I think the pushback makes a great relationship.
Do you think the labels are divisive and that this is by design?
Probably. Depends how conspiracy you want to get. I think there's lots of things happening for a reason right now. And I think the push, this whole gender push and gender identity push and crisis that's happening right now, I do think that that's a narrative that people are pushing, and they're pushing hard. And I personally don't agree with that.
Hmm. Do you notice any of the men pushing back?
I think men are nervous to push back because, again, this society that we're living in, if a man stands up and talks about it, he's branded and he's almost chastised for saying anything. And I think that makes a lot of people really nervous, especially people that are public figures that do feel that way. I know a lot of them. I know a lot of public figures that have tremendous followings, and they're worried about talking out about this because they don't want to be branded as a toxic male.
Mm. And you think that some individuals, if they speak out, have they been punished for this?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen the media punish them for speaking out 100%. I think that's happening more and more now. And I don't think people being able to speak their mind is okay anymore for a lot of outlets and a lot of entities and a lot of people.
So, Dr. Peter McCullough talks about courage being contagious. And you think that if there are a few men who push back, whether it's for medical freedom or, any kind of tyranny, even for the masculinity crisis, do you think that will make a difference?
I think more people talking out about this will help. It'll help bring awareness to it.
Yeah.
I think that people that have courage to talk about this will only hopefully breed more people to talk about it. And yeah, I do agree with that.
Mm. And do you think that it is worth it to have these conversations, even though they're hard?
I think any conversation that's hard is worth having, because hopefully you can help somebody by either having the conversation with them or listening to it. Hopefully you might be able to have somebody listen and then have that courage within themselves to speak out. I think that's really important.
Do you think that women want to help the men? Have you noticed anyone siding with the men?
I've noticed that there have been a lot of women that are speaking out about it. And when they do, there are a lot of them that do get branded. I mean, on Unjected, we have a lot of men that actually reach out to the founders of Unjected and say, your website copy on the women's portal of Unjected comes across as toxic feminine. And it's almost mind-blowing that a man or a so-called man would even say that. But that's the world that we live in. Apparently, if you're a strong, independent woman, it's toxic. If you're a strong, independent man, it's toxic. So where do you go from there? It's like we all just live in this toxic environment and toxic relationships with toxic couples because apparently everybody loves the word toxic.
Wow. And do you think that terminology, words matter? So when this, they say toxic, what would be your rebuttal to that? Is it that we got to fight? Is it hope? What would it be?
That's a good question. It's a good question. I'm not sure what the answer of that would be. Yes. I don't actually have an answer for that. I think that's about educating. And I think that if we can educate people that are feeling that way, at least, to the best of our ability, that being strong and independent and knowing what you want is not toxic. In fact, it should be a turn on. Yes. Then maybe they'll think about the position that they're taking.
So education is key. And then also just the example of the men who are being masculine.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. And, for your life, for your family, did you notice any man that was really a role model? He was a masculine man.
I think I was fortunate enough to grow up around a positive environment that embraces masculinity. I grew up in a family that was in the logging business. Ooh. And, when you think about a logger, you think about, like a manly man. and I think that's lost now, and they're trying to suppress somebody who embraces manhood and somebody who goes and takes what they want and knows what they want. And I think that that is really important. I was lucky enough to really understand and have great role models to show me what being a man is and how to be one. And I think a lot of people are lacking that.
Mm. If you had a tip for the men, what would it be?
If I had a tip for the men, what would it be? I would say it's about learning how to embrace your masculinity and understanding what being a real man is and how society is trying to diminish that. And if you were one of those potentially woke liberal men that cried when you didn't get the president elected that you wanted, that's maybe a warning sign.
Wow. Yes, a warning, but we got to have these conversations about the masculinity crisis. And just last words are yours.
Yeah, I think we as a society need to look long and hard in the mirror at how we're labeling people and how we're branding people. And the reality is, it's none of their business.
Ooh,
I mean, it really doesn't matter what other people think. You need to stay true to yourself, and you need to be who you are as a person and embrace it and live your own life.
yes, beautiful. Thank you so much, Foster Coulson.
Thank you.